Hi, this is Jackie with Panama Relocation Tours. Thank you so much for joining us for our Saturday live stream. I have a bit of changes on this particular live stream. I had two guest speakers that were going to join me to talk about the emotional stages that you go through when you're moving overseas and to Panama or to any other country. But they contacted me about an hour ago and said they weren't feeling very well. So instead of just canceling this live stream, I've decided I'm going to turn it into a Q&A where I'm going to answer your questions like we normally do for our Q&A live streams. So I need to do one thing. I need to turn the light on right in front of me. I forgot to do that. And then I'm going to explain how the Q&A is going to work. 1 second. Okay, that's a little bit better. So for those of you that are new, my name is Jackie Lang, owner of Panama Relocation Tours, and since 2010, we've been helping people move to Panama the right way. We do that with our all-inclusive 6-day, 7-night relocation tours, with our private tours. Also, we have something called our online guide. You can get more information about all of those things on our website at Panama Relocation Tours. Let me put the banner up real quick. Here it is, PanamaRelocationTours.com. Like I said, instead of me just canceling the live stream, I know a lot of you join me every single Saturday and you don't really care what the topic is anyway, so long as you get some information about moving to Panama. So what I'm going to do is just answer your questions. You'll have to type those in to the chat window and put 3 question marks in front of it. And then I'll pop it up on the screen and I'll answer it for you. One quick announcement, we did just add another tour. We were completely sold out until the middle of October, so we added another tour for September the 26th through October the 3rd. You can check into details about that on our website at Panama Relocation Tours. So what were your emotional stages when I moved? So when I moved, it was different. It's different for some people. They think they're going to move and they're so excited, and then they think, oh my gosh, am I making a big mistake? And then they're so excited, then they think, am I going crazy? Am I doing the right thing? So that's the way it is for some people. For me, it was different. For me, I came to Panama. I knew I wanted to move someplace where I wouldn't need an air conditioner or a heater ever again. And when I found Panama, then I knew I'd found the right place. So for me, I just couldn't wait to move here. So I moved really quickly. So it wasn't so much an emotional thing for me in the move part. Now, there are going to be some transitions whenever you get here. There's what they call the honeymoon phase when you first get here, where you think, oh my gosh, I've died and gone to Shangri-La or heaven, and it's just so beautiful. And, the air smells better and flowers are everywhere. And when that wears off and you just kind of move into your regular routine of living in Panama, then you just say, this is my new life. It's just everything's a little bit different, but so many things are the same also. So it's different for every single person. So for those of you that joined us just a little bit late, I'm letting you know that our guest speakers today for the live stream about the emotional stages that you go through when you're moving to Panama, they both notified me about an hour ago that, I don't know if it was something they ate or something they drank, but they have really upset stomachs, so they weren't able to join us for the live stream. So instead of me just canceling it, I decided I would do a Q&A and just answer your questions instead. So you'll have to type your question into the chat window and put 3 question marks in front of it, and then I'll pop it up on the screen and answer it. Like this one, are there RV parks in Panama? There's one tiny little RV park that's in Bokeete. I think it can't hold big RVs, but just small RVs, but there aren't RV parks like there are in some other countries. Residential garbage pickup. So it depends on which residence you live in. I've lived in several since I've been in Panama. Usually it's once a week, and you have a big bin that you put all of your trash in, and the trash truck comes by once a week and takes everything out of the bin. Some areas, like gated communities, you might have it twice a week. Roger wants to know, sorry to hear the planned guests aren't feeling well. Hope they feel better soon. On the personal note, we, Don and Roger in Connecticut, are really looking forward to hearing from them. Hopefully by this time next year, we'll be in Dolega. So I'm hoping that I can reschedule them for next Saturday. I made some recommendations on some medication they can take that will make them feel better. So hopefully we can get them back on soon. And next question, if your question scrolls up off the screen and I don't get to it, you might have to type it in 2 times because I just can't get to all of them so quickly. So Vic says, hola, Jackie, can we use our U.S. health insurance agent to secure the best health insurance in Panama or use an agent in the PRT online guide? Your U.S. health insurance is not going to be able to help you with Panama insurance at all. You're going to have to use a Panama insurance agent to help you with insurance, and they are listed in the online guide. What am I looking at? When you purchase it, you're looking at me. So when you purchase a home in a rural area, how do you know if the home was built to code and the proper permits were built? So you can hire an inspector to do an inspection of your property. Also, a local architect is going to be able to, you can get a local architect to inspect the property and make sure that one thing you want to make sure of is that there's a certificate of occupancy filed. That means that after, especially if it's newer construction, that there was an inspector that came out and inspected it and verified that it was safe enough, and that electrical works, the plumbing works, everything works for someone to actually live in the property. What's the best bank in Panama? So there's a lot of really good banks in Panama. Of course, Banco Nacional is the national bank of Panama. But for foreigners who don't speak Spanish, you might want to have a bank where they have at least online banking is in English and Spanish. And even a big plus is if they have an app that's also in English. So some banks that fit that would be Multibank and Banismo. They both have online banking in English and an app in English. Another one would be Global Bank, has online banking in English, but their app is only in Spanish. And Jackie, when we carry cash in Panama, is the limit not needed to be declared? So if it's less than $10,000, when you're flying into Panama, if it's less than $10,000 per family that you're bringing in, then there's a little customs form that you'll fill out, and they'll ask, are you bringing more than $10,000 in cash? So if you bring $9,999, you can say no. Or if you bring $10,000, you can say no. But if you bring $11,000 or $12,000, you're going to have to declare that, and they're going to pull you aside, and there will be an inspection that'll be done. Can you lease a car for a year? Do you have to buy? Leasing a car for a year isn't really a thing here in Panama, and even leasing for a month is quite expensive, like $900 to $1,000. So it's probably much, much better for you to just buy a car. And does it take long to get through customs? We could have a cheaper flight, but it would only have 2.5 hours in Panama City to David. 2.5 hours is plenty of time for you to get through Panama City for a David flight. The only thing is if you fly into Terminal 1 and your flight to David is going to be out of Terminal 2, and that's a bit of a hike. But there is a bus that can take you over there, but it is a bit of a hike. But 2.5 hours should be plenty of time. And you never know. It's not so much customs that's the problem, it's immigration. Sometimes first you're going to go through immigration where they're going to look at your passport, stamp your passport, verify your documents, and then you get your luggage, and then you go through customs. And immigration is where the line can be very, very long, unless the secret is get as close to the front of the plane as possible when you're flying to Panama, and try to be one of the very first people off of the plane. Don't sit back on aisle number 30 on the plane, because when you get to immigration, the line is going to be a mile long. So try to be up at the front of the plane so you can get to immigration before everybody else on the plane does. Mark says, when we visit Panama later this month for our first boots on the ground for 4 weeks, other than the cash we bring, is an ATM our only resource for cash? No, the other source that you could use for cash, Mark, is Western Union. You can send money to yourself and pick it up at a Western Union. So you might want to go to their website and check out the details on how to do that. And I think you can get up to $3,000 by doing it that way. With an ATM machine, you can only get $250 and it'll cost $6.50 to do that. Now, if you have like Schwab or Fidelity debit card, they may reimburse you for those foreign transaction fees, but if not, that's a pretty hefty fee. So Western Union is another way that you can pick up, and there's Western Union office throughout Panama. So it's another way, actually a better way, for you to get cash to be able to use while you're in country. Of course, you can also use your credit card and use that as much as possible at hotels and restaurants and grocery stores and things like that. Just use your credit card so you can minimize how much cash you're going to need. One of them went way up there off the screen. I couldn't get to it, sorry. You mentioned using United Healthcare for your health insurance. We currently have Cigna with Medicare Advantage, which is best. Either one of those is best, Cigna or United Healthcare is best. What you need to do is ask your insurance agent to give you information about what are your benefits with your Cigna plan, and make sure that it has overseas coverage, and find out, are you going to have to pay $250 deductible, no up front? Are you going to have to pay $500, $1,000? Is there a limit on how many days they pay for? So get details about what is a verification of benefits of what's covered with your Cigna plan, and then you could do a Google search for United Healthcare. I have the AARP plan, but United Healthcare, and compare the two to see which one, or your insurance agent can probably send you a document that does a comparison of the two, and then you can pick which one's best. Now, you do know that you can only switch from one Medicare Advantage to a different Medicare Advantage during certain times of the year, and I don't know when that is exactly, but on May the 3rd, I think it is, the first Saturday in May, I do have a Medicare Advantage expert that'll be talking to us about when you can switch to Medicare Advantage, which ones are the best for use overseas. So that's a good question to say for him on May the 3rd. I think it might be May the 2nd, the first Saturday in May, whenever that is. Have you heard of Americans having problems getting their letter certifying monthly income for the pension visa? My husband's having problems. So if you're talking about a Social Security letter, you can go online and you can print that out yourself. You don't have to go to Social Security. You don't have to contact anybody. You can just go online. You can there's a thing called income verification. You can print that out. And then you do need to attach an affidavit to that, which you could just write yourself that says, I swear that this is my income. This is me, my Social Security number. I'm going to get X number of dollars per month for the rest of my life. And that affidavit needs to be notarized. Tony says, how much money should you have on your person when traveling in Panama? So everybody's situation is a little bit different, and it also depends on where you're going to be traveling. If you're going to be traveling in Panama City and Coronado and Bokeete, those places, there's a lot of places that take credit cards there. But if you're going to be traveling in the Azuera Peninsula or, some other places like Bokeete, or even they may not take credit cards very much, so you might need a little bit more cash. You can always get more in an ATM machine if you need to, but I say I usually have about $100 with me, $80 to $100 with me at any given time, and then I always have a debit card or two so that I can go to any ATM machine to get more. Diane says, is the bank statement showing Canadian pension good enough to show pension income? Does it need to be notarized? Your bank statement is not going to be good enough. You're going to have to get the, what is it called, CPP, Canadian pension. You're going to have to get that, and you may have two pensions. Most people have two pensions in Canada, so the bank statement won't work. You're going to have to get the actual pension letter. It does have to be notarized, and then it has to be apostilled in your province. We have details in our online Panama Relocation Guide. If you have that, just search Canada authentication, and we have step-by-step instructions on where to get your documents, how to get it notarized, who can help you get your documents if you don't want to do it yourself, and then where to go or who to hire to get everything apostilled. I'm buying the online reference. If I have additional questions, can I contact the company with those specific questions? You can contact us anytime by email at info@Panama Relocation Tours. We also have a number that you can call from like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday with calls, but email is usually the fastest way to get a response. And believe me, you're going to have other questions. The other thing we have when you buy our online Panama Relocation Guide is we have a private Facebook group where you can ask questions in there. So it's not just me and my daughter or my son that are answering your questions. We have more than 6,000 people that have already moved to Panama. Most of them have already moved to Panama that are right there to answer your questions and give you advice also. Kenneth says, we're coming back to Panama on May 28th to pick up our permanent pensionado visa. However, our temporary visas expired yesterday. Do we need to prove onward travel? You might have to. My guess is whenever you go to the check-in for your flight to come to Panama, they're going to require onward travel unless you can show a visa. And if you just show them your Visa card, they say, well, I need to see your visa. Just show it to them. The chances are slim that they're going to notice that it's already expired. If they do notice that it's expired, they may on the spot require you to buy onward travel. But the chances of them noticing that it's expired are pretty slim. The other thing you could do is do a Google search for onward travel. And there are some companies that you can buy an onward travel ticket a few days before your flight for less than $20 to show onward travel. So that's another option. Will you be posting more videos of new places and towns to live in Panama? Yes, I am, and I'm glad you brought that up, Karen. This Sunday, I already have the video, but I have to make the little thumbnail and write a description on YouTube and everything. But we have a new video coming up. A town that we've only got one other video that we did 5 years ago. It's in the Azura Peninsula, about 10 minutes from Los Tabos. It's a super affordable beach town. Just to give you a hint, this couple's renting a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, oceanfront, with a swimming pool for $450 a month. So that video should be dropping on Sunday. I'm hoping to have it finished on Sunday. If not, it should be ready by Monday. So watch out for the emails when it comes out. What is the reasonable rent range for Bokeete, Alta Bokeete, maybe Bocan, 2-bedroom with a yard for dogs? Heard it takes, yeah, the online sites are not a good source. The best rentals are going to be found word of mouth. They're not going to ever be posted on Facebook. They're not going to be posted on any real estate agent websites. On those, you're going to end up paying more. Anything that's posted online on Facebook, you're going to end up paying more. If you want to get something good, you've got to be boots on the ground. So that means you're going to have to stay in a hotel or an Airbnb for a couple of weeks while you're talking to people and finding really good deals that are available here. I would say a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a yard. You're looking at probably $1,000 a month. You might be able to get it for $700-800, but you're looking at $1,000, maybe $1,200 a month for something that's furnished with probably all the utilities included. And Kate says, I'm preparing to move to Panama soon. I anticipate 2 pallets. Should I use heavy-duty cartons or should I plan on the plastic bins? The plastic bins or totes would be just fine. You can get those at Home Depot or Lowe's or Costco, places like that. They're readily available. The 27-gallon size is what most people use for packing their totes. By the way, if you joined us a little bit late, just letting you know that our guest speakers got sick today, and they contacted me about an hour before the live stream and said that they just weren't going to be able to do it. They had a really bad upset stomach. And so I'm going to reschedule them for another time. So instead of me canceling the live stream, I decided that I would just do a Q&A to answer your questions, because there's always plenty of questions about moving to Panama. But I will get our emotional stages of moving to Panama live stream. I'll get that rescheduled as soon as our guests are feeling better. So Joyce wants to know, hello from the Bay Area. What cities or towns would you say have the least humidity near the coast, or is that impossible? So the cities with the least humidity near the coast are going to be in Chitre and Los Tabos, and the beach communities that are between Chitre and Los Tabos. Those are going to have the least humidity. Can you live in or around Los Tabos without owning a car? Yeah, you can live, definitely. You can live in Los Tabos. I know people that are doing it right now, that they're living just fine. Now, of course, it depends on where your rental is. The closer it is to downtown, the better, so you can walk there, so you don't have to always rely on taxis or buses. But taxis and buses are available too. Diane says, I'm looking for a rental in Bokeete in November and December. Is it too soon? So if you're only going to be here in November and December, that's just 2 months, then you should just get something on Airbnb. And it's not too soon to get something on Airbnb. If you're planning to move in November or December and you need a long-term rental, like something for 6 months or more, then it's way too soon for you to contact any agents to look for something. For a longer-term rental, the week before you get here, you should contact one of the agents listed in the guide. Background looks awesome. Thank you. Procedures to bring pets. So there's a really good article on our website at Panama Relocation Tours. Let me put that up here again. No, that's the email. At PanamaRelocationTours.com, we have a really good article of step-by-step information about bringing your pets to Panama. Just type in shipping my pets or just pets, and it'll take you to that article about the things that you have to do. It is a very time-sensitive process. There's things you have to do like 3 months before, things you have to do 30 days before, and then things that cannot be done more than 10 days before you're going to travel. So make sure you read that article. We also have information in our online Panama Relocation Guide about bringing your pets. So Maria says, for PriceSmart memberships, does each family member need a membership, or is one membership per family? You can get an individual membership, or you can get a family membership. I think it's $35 a year. I don't know. Every time I go, they say, oh, your membership's up for renewal. You want us to do it? And they just do it at the register at checkout. But I think it's $35 for a family membership. Okay, so for 27-gallon totes on a pallet, you can get 8 totes on a pallet. So if you're going to have more than 8 totes, you need 2 pallets. So a reminder that you need to put 3 question marks in front of your question. Otherwise, I don't know it's a question. I'll just assume it's a conversation going on the side. So Jeanette says, to ride an electric stand-up scooter, do you need a license? I'm pretty sure you would need a license for that. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer definitively, but I think that you would need a driver's license for that. You would also need a helmet. Can you provide a pension broker? No, I cannot. I don't know. There's no pension brokers. Your pension would come from your government or from a job that you used to work for. That's who you would talk to your HR department at the company you work for, or if you have a government pension like Social Security, then you would talk to them in your country. Best travel insurance for when I come on the tour. So there's all kinds of different travel insurance, and there's a lot of variables about which country you're coming from, which state you're coming from, or province you're coming from. A good way to find out a variety of different quotes is go to a website, insuremytrip.com, and they'll give you quotes from several different companies, and then you can pick the one that's best for you. Does the Valle Altos de Maria area get as much rain as Bokeete in the rainy season? Yes, it does. Sometimes even more. Last year, it got more rain. Like, for example, last year, I think Bokeete got like 250 inches of rain, but Valle and Altos de Maria got 320 inches of rain. Jackie, for the pensionado visa for husband and spouse, can the spouse defer Social Security until a later date? So no, you cannot. So when you apply for your residency visa, you have to already be receiving your Social Security. Now, if your husband's Social Security is at least $1,250, that's all you have to show. One spouse could defer their Social Security. If the other spouse has a pension that's at least $1,250 in US dollars, then that would qualify you. But if you need both pensions combined to be able to qualify for the $1,250, then you have to be already receiving it. Daryl says, thank you for offering a Q&A tonight instead of canceling. We look forward to watching every Saturday. You're so welcome. I knew that you'd be disappointed if I just canceled on you, and I was going to be here anyway. I was ready, so why not answer questions, right? Mean to apply a lawyer. So yes, we do have lawyers for pensionado visa. We have a list of recommended immigration attorneys in our online Panama Relocation Guide. Let me see if I can find that. So if you go to our website at Panama Relocation Tours, then click on the tab that says Online Guide at the top. That's where we have a list of our recommended immigration attorneys who all offer a substantial discount for our clients. So it's going to pay for itself. And when you give up your permanent address in the United States and only have a mail forwarding address, how do you handle an address to be able to continue to vote in the state or keep a DL or a passport? So some people use the address of their relative, daughter, brother, sister, next door neighbor, something like that. Some people do that. Some people rent a box at a UPS store, and then they're able to do it that way because you do get a physical address at the UPS store. Jackie, when you buying a car here, cash or financing, cash wasn't a good method when wanting the best price because in the U.S. packages were offered in financing, able to pay it off in a month later. So in Panama, the majority of cars are paid for with cash. Unless it's a really expensive car, you can certainly go to a bank. If it's a used car, they're usually paid for with cash. If you're buying a brand new car, then you can usually get bank financing. The dealership doesn't give financing. You have to go to a bank and apply for financing, and they usually will want at least 30% down to be able to do financing. I don't know what the terms are for getting financing on a car. If I get the Friendly Nation visa, can I still get an East Sedula? So the East Sedula and a visa are two completely different animals. Your Friendly Nation visa gives you the right and permission to be able to live in Panama indefinitely. Once you get your permanent friendly nation visa, then you can apply for your East Sedula. And your East Sedula is just an identification card. Every single Panamanian that's 18 years or older has to have an East Sedula, and that's what's used for identification. You can't get an East Sedula until you have your permanent visa, but your East Sedula is just for an ID. It's nothing to do really with the right to be able to live in Panama. And next question over here is, how easy is it to ship my furniture to Panama? It's super easy to ship your furniture to Panama if you've got a big bank account. All you have to do is make a phone call to an international mover. We have a list of those in our online Panama Relocation Guide. Let them know all the things that you want to ship. They will come out and give you an estimate on what it's going to cost. You know, for a 40-foot container, like a whole house full of furniture, you're looking at $15,000 to $20,000 to get your things shipped door to door. They'll pick it up at your place wherever you are now and deliver it to the place that you're moving to in Panama. Cynthia wants to know, how long can I stay in Panama before and after I have my permanent visa, since I won't be living full-time in Panama? So this is the situation. Once you get your visa, once you get your temporary visa, then if it's a pensionado visa, then about 6 months later, you're going to have your permanent visa, and you need to pick that up. When you get your permanent visa, there is no requirement for you to live in Panama. You do have to come back at least for 1 day every 2 years, but there's no requirement for you to actually live in the country. So once you get your visa, you could be here 2 months or 3 months or 6 months or no months in 1 year. Next question is Ernie. How about my parrot? Any news, rumor? So I was talking to a pet relocation company the other day, and I asked them about getting birds into the country, and they said that what they heard is there's still a ban on bringing birds into the country. But, you know, they've told me, and also Jose at Golden Frog have all told me that whenever that ban is lifted, then they're going to let me know. Is it correct that the Friendly Nation visa takes 3 years to become permanent? Yes, that's correct, that it takes 3 years to become permanent. And that's one of the reasons that I recommend that, like, if you were going to get a Friendly Nation visa by buying $200,000 in real estate or putting $200,000 into a CD, a 3-year CD at a Panama bank, and then it's going to take 3 years for you to get your permanent visa. An alternative for that you could get your permanent visa in 6 months, and it would probably be cheaper, is to buy an annuity. If you buy an annuity in your country, in the US or in Canada, you can buy an annuity that would pay at least $1,000 a month for one person, or $1,250 a month for the rest of your life. Then you could get the pensionado visa, and you'd have your permanent visa in 6 months. I have an article about that on my website, and it's how to get the pensionado visa if you don't have a pension. And it's just buying an annuity. So for the same amount of money that it would cost to qualify for that Friendly Nation visa, you can buy an annuity instead. The other big benefit of getting the pensionado visa over the Friendly Nation visa is, with the pensionado visa, the government fees are waived. So it's going to save at least $1,050 per person that you don't have to pay in government fees that you would have if you get a pensionado visa, but you do have to pay those if you get the Friendly Nation visa. Also, the attorney fees are more affordable for the pensionado visa than they are for the Friendly Nation visa. So make sure you check out that article on our website. Just click on the tab that says blog, and there's an article that says how to get a pensionado visa if you don't have a pension. Bess wants to know, what's the cost of auto insurance for a 65-year-old female? So it's a little bit different in Panama. Your auto insurance in Panama is assigned to the car, not necessarily the driver. Yes, the insurance is going to be in your name, but it depends on the car and how old the car is, not how old the driver is. So I can tell you that for a 2022 Hyundai or Mazda, you're going to pay about $600 a year for full coverage. Does David have high-rise apartments? David has some apartments that are maybe 6 stories high, but not the big 20, 30 story high things like they have in other areas. Are skilled nursing facilities less expensive in Panama versus the U.S.? So if you're talking about like assisted living facilities, something like that, then yes, they're definitely more affordable. They also either are private assisted living, or they have government-sponsored assisted living. Government-sponsored assisted living can be as little as $600 a month here in Panama, where it would be more like $6,000 or $9,000 a month in the United States. We have an article about that on our website. So go to Panama Relocation Tours and search assisted living to see more details about both private and public assisted living. Jackie, what does the relocation tour require? A lot of walking to see everything. So there is walking every day. You're not just going to be sitting on the bus the whole time, although you're going to be sitting on the bus some, but every single day you're going to you're going to do a hospital tour that takes about 45 minutes to do that. You're going to get on and off the bus to see rentals. You're going to get on and off the bus to see a shopping center or go to a pharmacy to check prices of your medications. You're going to, the restaurants and the hotels and rentals every single day. So there is quite a bit of walking, but it's not, we try to get as close to the place that we're going to be going to as possible. The bus driver does, so that we can minimize how much walking you have to do. So I'm a pensionado visa, but my daughter is 30 and she has a daughter. How can they get a visa to move with me? So what your daughter can do, we have the perfect visa for her. It's a friendly nation visa where she would set up a corporation. Then the corporation would issue her a labor contract, and her daughter would be able to be included in that friendly nation visa. So to learn a little bit more about that visa, go to PanamaRelocationTours.com. In the upper right-hand corner, search 4 ways to get a friendly nation visa, and it's option number 4 is the one that would work just right for her and her daughter. Does Medicare pay for assisted living? So first of all, Medicare doesn't work overseas at all for anything. If you have the right Medicare Advantage plan, it covers urgent care and emergencies at a hospital, but it does not cover assisted living. With a friendly nation visa through a corporation, can I leave Panama after getting the temporary residency visa? Yes, you can certainly leave Panama. Whenever you get a temporary visa, whether it's a pensionado visa or the friendly nation visa, you're going to get a little visa card that's about the size of a driver's license, and there's a QR code on there that's considered a multi-entry visa that allows you to come and go as often as you want to. So you don't have to just stay in Panama to wait for your permanent visa. I'll be 55 in November and I have a friendly nation visa. Would I qualify for the pensionado discounts? So in November, yes, you'll qualify for, if you have a permanent friendly nation visa and you're 55, then you would qualify for the pensionado discounts, which includes 25% off of airfare to come to Panama, 20% off at restaurants, 20% off at pharmacies, 25% off your electric bill. There's all kinds of really great discounts. And next question, I'm looking for the question marks. Can I get a friendly nation visa if a corporation I don't own gets a work visa for me? I've never heard of that one. That's a good question for an immigration attorney, Michael. I wouldn't want to give you wrong information. Are the high-rise apartments in Panama seismic retrofitted for earthquakes? Yes. All the newer buildings, I think anything built after like 1995, are all required to be earthquake proof. By the way, when we do have earthquakes in Panama, most of the time you don't even feel it, or if you do feel it, it's a little wiggle that just lasts for a second. We don't have those, juggling ones that last for a long time that have a lot of destruction here in Panama. It just doesn't happen because of our earthquake standards for construction. So Eduardo says, once you get your temporary pensionado visa, can you get your driver's license? You can get your driver's license, your Panama driver's license, once you get your temporary pensionado visa. However, you need to know that your temporary visa is only good for 6 months. So that means your driver's license only going to be good for 6 months. So when you get your permanent visa, you're going to have to renew your driver's license. And then if you're less than 70, you'll get a driver's license that's good for 4 years. If you're 70 or older, your license will only be good for 2 years. You'll have to renew every 2 years. Let me get a little drink. Hold on. Can you apply for a friendly nation visa when an adult special needs child as a dependent? Yes, you can. You can definitely do that. My 29-year-old daughter receives her late husband's survival pension for her disability. How would that work for her? So if the money that your 29-year-old daughter receives, if it's at least $1,000 a month, and she has documents to prove that she's going to get it for the rest of her life, then she can get a pensionado visa, even though she's only 29 years old. The requirement for the pensionado visa, you have to be at least 18 years old to get that visa, so she could definitely qualify for that. Lee wants to know, does the 25% discount on airfare with the pensionado apply to travel to and from the USA? Yes, it does. Now, with some airlines, like Copa Airlines, it can be a flight that originates in the United States that's coming to Panama. With some of the other airlines, like Delta or American, the flight has to originate in Panama. But it can go to multiple places. You can go from Panama to Miami, to Singapore, to Paris, to Australia, and also get a 25% discount on the whole flight. Can you get the East Sedula and driver's license be obtained in David without having to go to Panama City? No, you cannot. To get the driver's license and the East Sedula, it's going to require a trip to Panama City. For the driver's license, you'll have to get your current license authenticated at the embassy for your country, U.S. Embassy, Canadian Embassy in Panama City. And then that has to be re-authenticated by the Ministry of Foreign Relations. And then you can get the rest of it. The rest of your driver's license, you can get that in David. For the East Sedula, you have to apply for that in Panama City. And then they will send it to David or wherever you live within 7 days after you do the application. But the application for the Sedula and the driver's license have to happen in Panama City. I get VA disability and my monthly pension is right around $1,600 a month. Can me and my wife, along with our 2 kids, qualify for a pensionado visa? So you and your wife can definitely qualify for the pensionado visa. For your children, it depends on how old they are. If they're less than 18 years old, then they could be considered a dependent. If they're older than 18 years old, they'd have to be full-time students for them to qualify as your dependent. What are the chances that the permanent pensionado visa would not be approved if your background check is clean? So if your background check is completely clean, then the chances of your permanent visa not being approved are slim to nothing. If you have some dings on your background check and maybe they do an Interpol investigation and find some things that happen, other things that happen, or perhaps in other countries, then maybe you will and maybe you won't get a visa. That has happened to some people, that they got approved for their temporary visa, but they didn't get approved for their permanent visa because immigration found some skeletons in their closet of arrests that happened in Mexico or some other countries. Can I get my driver's license the same day I receive my permanent visa? Will I need a fixer? It's unlikely that you're going to get your driver's license the very same day you get your permanent visa. There's some things that you could put into place that could make it perhaps happen that same day. For example, if you came to Panama well in advance of you getting your permanent visa, at least maybe 5 days in advance, and you already had your driver's license authenticated at your embassy, and you already had it re-authenticated at the Ministry of Foreign Relations, if all that was done before you got your permanent visa, then yes, you could get your driver's license the same day, because the only other things that are needed, you could get the blood type, because that has to go on your driver's license. You could do that in advance of getting your permanent visa. So right after you get your visa, you just have to go do the hearing test, the vision test, and pay $36, and you get your driver's license. Kelly says, can you get a bank account with your temporary visa? You can get a bank account with the temporary visa. If age qualified, how can I get the East Sedula fastest without having a pensionado visa? It's not possible ever to get a Sedula or East Sedula until you have your permanent pensionado visa. It's just not possible. Does it make sense to come before we get the permanent one, the permanent visa? You know, a lot of people move to Panama before they even apply for a residency visa, and they go ahead and move in, get settled, get their refrigerator full of groceries, get their, you know, pets all situated, and then they do the application later. So you don't have to wait for your permanent visa to be able to move to Panama. You could come sooner. The only thing that I would suggest is if you have a criminal report and there's problems on your criminal report, I would say don't move all your household goods, don't ship your car, don't even bring your pets to Panama until you know you can get that permanent visa. But if you have a clean background criminal check, then no problem. Just come on over to Panama. Mercury says, Sario 81, 2 children are under 18 and considered dependents. Would he need a pension of $1750? So I don't understand the question. You're going to have to rephrase the question so I can understand a little bit better. Sorry. How much money do I need to open a bank account, and what other documents do I need? So the answer to that is it depends. Like so many things here in Panama, it depends on which bank you go to. You know, some banks are going to require $50 to open an account. Some banks require $250. Some banks want $1,000. Some banks will want to see the last 2 years of your tax returns. Some banks want to see 1 year of tax returns. Some banks want a letter from your immigration attorney if you only have a temporary visa. Some banks don't. So there's not, and unfortunately in Panama, there's just not one right answer to that question. And that happens a lot here in Panama. So we don't have anybody that's typed in a question right now. So I want to make a quick announcement about a couple of things, and then I'll let you guys enjoy your weekend. So one announcement that I want to make is we just added a new Panama Relocation Tour. We were completely sold out until the middle of October, and we had a lot of people on a backup list trying to get in on some of the other tours. So if you'd like to come on a Panama Relocation Tour, but the tour is sold out, make sure you get on our backup list. And just type in on our website, type in backup in the top, and then you can fill out, you know, which dates that you're interested in, and we'll send you an email as soon as we get an opening, or if we get an opening on a Panama Relocation Tour. But we did just add another tour for September the 26th through October the 3rd. As last time I looked, which was about noon, we already had 10 people signed up for that tour. So my guess is by next week, it'll probably be sold out. So if you're thinking about coming, that would be a good tour for you to sign up for. Also, I already have it, but I have to build a thumbnail and write a description. But we have a new video coming out hopefully on Sunday about a very affordable beach community that's about 10 minutes outside of Los Tabos. The couple that we are interviewing on the video is renting a beautiful 2-bedroom house with a pool, oceanfront, for $450 a month. So you want to make sure that you tune in for that particular video as soon as I let you know. The best way to know when the video is actually live on the website is if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll be the very first person to know when that new video goes live. So I'm sorry that we weren't able to do the live stream about the emotional stages of moving to Panama or moving overseas. Unfortunately, my guest speakers, I don't know if they ate something that got them an upset stomach, but they have a very upset stomach, and they just said they weren't going to be able to do it. So I said, okay, I'll just do a Q&A. I'll answer your questions. There's always questions to answer, but I'll get them rescheduled as soon as I possibly can. And I hope that you learned something new with our Q&A. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your happy Easter weekend. Have a good weekend, everybody. Goodbye.